Betrayal destroyed my 14-year marriage and lost my beloved husband forever. I always thought I would be the last person to cheat. For 14 years, I prided myself on being a loyal wife, a good partner, the kind of person who believed in the vows we exchanged on that warm summer day so long ago. But here I am now, staring into the abyss, knowing that I've lost the only man who ever truly mattered to me. All because of a moment of weakness. A lapse in judgment that has shattered everything we built together. I can't even pinpoint the exact moment when things started to change between us. When the love that used to flow so freely began to dry up. Maybe it was after the kids were born. Life became more about routine, about responsibilities. And somewhere along the way, we forgot about each other. We became two people living in the same house but in different worlds. He had his job, his ambitions, his long hours at the office. And I had mine, managing the house, taking care of the kids, keeping everything running smoothly. We stopped talking about the things that mattered. At first, it was just little things, avoiding conversations about our feelings, glossing over small frustrations. But then the silence grew, stretching longer and longer, until we were barely communicating at all. I remember lying in bed at night, feeling the cold space between us, wanting so desperately to reach out but not knowing how. It wasn't always like this. I can still remember the early days, how we couldn't get enough of each other. We were inseparable, full of dreams and laughter, our lives intertwined in ways that felt unbreakable. I loved him so deeply, and I know he loved me too. We had this unspoken understanding, a bond that I thought could withstand anything. But life has a way of wearing you down. The stress, the obligations, the exhaustion of raising a family, it all piled up until there was nothing left for us. And that's when I started to feel it, the loneliness. It crept in slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, but soon it consumed me. I would watch him from across the room, sitting on the couch after another long day. And I'd wonder if he even saw me anymore, if he even remembered the woman he married. And then there was Adam. I didn't intend for it to happen. In fact, I didn't even realize it was happening at first. Adam was a co-worker, someone I had worked with for years, and we always got along. He was charming, easy to talk to, and he made me feel noticed in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. It started innocently enough, quick chats in the break room, a few texts here and there about work. But then the texts started getting more personal, the conversations a little deeper. And before I knew it, I was confiding in him about things I hadn't even shared with my husband. It felt harmless at first. I told myself that it was just nice to have someone to talk to, someone who actually listened. But deep down, I knew I was crossing a line. The way I looked forward to seeing Adam, the way my heart would race when his name popped up on my phone, it wasn't just friendship. And I knew it. One evening, after a particularly rough day at home, Adam invited me out for a drink. I should have said no. I knew I should have. But I didn't. I wanted to escape, to feel something other than the suffocating emptiness that had taken over my life. So, I said yes. We went to a quiet bar not far from the office. And for the first time in months, I felt alive again. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing. And I laughed in a way I hadn't in years. It was easy with Adam, too easy. By the time we left, I had already crossed another line. And I knew it. That night, as we stood in the parking lot, saying our goodbyes, he kissed me, and I kissed him back. I can still remember the feeling, the rush, the adrenaline, the sheer panic that followed. I pulled away almost immediately, my heart pounding in my chest. I told him it was a mistake, that I couldn't do this. And I drove home in a daze, my mind racing with guilt and shame. But the damage was already done. I had opened a door that couldn't be closed. And I knew it. I told myself that it was a one-time thing, that I would never let it happen again. But the truth is, once you cross that line, it's almost impossible to go back. Over the next few weeks, I kept seeing Adam. At first, it was just at work. But then we started meeting outside of the office. It wasn't long before things escalated, and I found myself in a full-blown affair. I don't know why I let it happen. Maybe it was the thrill, the excitement of something new. Or maybe it was just the overwhelming loneliness that I couldn't shake. Whatever it was, I lost myself in it. But I couldn't escape the guilt. Every time I looked at my husband, the weight of what I was doing crushed me. He didn't deserve this. He was a good man, a good father, and I was betraying him in the worst way possible. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. It was like I was spiraling out of control. And no matter how hard I tried to pull myself out, I kept sinking deeper. Then one night, everything came crashing down. I had been out with Adam again. And when I came home, my husband was waiting for me. I could see it in his eyes before he even said a word. He knew. He had found out. I don't know how. And I never asked. But there was no denying it anymore. "Where were you?" he asked. His voice calm but laced with hurt. I froze, my mind scrambling for an answer. But nothing came. I couldn't lie to him anymore. Not after everything. "I was with Adam," I said, my voice barely a whisper. The silence that followed was deafening. He didn't yell. He didn't scream, he just looked at me. His eyes filled with a pain so deep. It broke my heart. "How long?" he asked. 6 months, I admitted, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. I watched as the reality of my betrayal hit him. He didn't cry. He didn't get angry, he just stood there, staring at me like he didn't even know who I was anymore. And in that moment, I realized that I had lost him forever. He packed a bag that night and left. He didn't say much, just that he needed time, that he couldn't be around me right now. I tried to stop him, tried to beg for his forgiveness, but it was too late. The damage was done, and there was no going back. In the days that followed, I was a wreck. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think about anything but the fact that I had ruined my marriage. The house felt empty without him, and every room was a reminder of what I had lost. The kids didn't understand what was happening, they just knew that their dad wasn't coming home. I tried to reach out to him, tried to explain, but he wouldn't answer my calls. I wrote him letters, long, rambling apologies, but they all went unanswered. He was gone, and I had no idea if he was ever coming back. And that's when the reality of what I had done truly sank in. I had destroyed the one thing in my life that had been real. The one person who had always been there for me. I had let my own selfishness and insecurity drive a wedge between us. And now I was paying the price. Adam, of course, was no longer in the picture. The affair had burned out as quickly as it had started, leaving nothing but regret in its wake. He had never been the answer to my problems, just a distraction from them. And now, with my husband gone, I realized how hollow it had all been. Months passed, and I heard nothing from my husband. I didn't know where he was staying, or what he was doing, but I knew he wasn't coming back. I had lost him forever, and it was my own fault. The divorce papers came in the mail one day, and I sat there staring at them for hours. I knew this day was coming, but seeing it in black and white made it all too real. 14 years of marriage, gone in the blink of an eye. I signed the papers, feeling a sense of finality wash over me. This was it. There was no more hope, no more chances. I had made my bed, and now I had to lie in it. As I sit here now, looking back on everything that's happened, I realize how blind I was. I took my husband for granted. Took our love for granted. And now I've lost him. I will never be able to undo the damage I caused. Never be able to take back the hurt I inflicted on the man I loved. All I have left are the memories of what we used to be. And the deep, aching regret that I let it all slip away.